We have another question here that came into us through a phone conversation. Someone called in, and this was at the heart of their question. It says, doesn't Romans 6 suggest that once we become a child of God, we should stop sinning? How can we be sinners and holy at the same time? All right, so sounds like a two-part question, but related there. And pointing us here to Romans chapter 6. Perhaps we can read, I think, the first couple of verses from that. I'll read from the New King James Version, Romans 6, 1 and 2. It says, what shall we say then? Shall we continue in sin that grace may abound? Verse 2 says, certainly not. How shall we who died to sin live any longer in it? So this person who called us is wrestling with this, this issue of sin and holiness. How does the Bible resolve this tension?
Well, if I could begin by talking about the Apostle Paul, I think Andrea's got a point she can certainly make afterward. Him as an individual, the one who wrote these words, he said of himself, he made a statement in 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 15, which is kind of autobiographical, talking about himself. And he says there in 1 Timothy chapter 1 and verse 15, this is a faithful saying and worthy of all acceptance that Christ Jesus came into the world to save sinners, here's the point, of whom I am chief. So he certainly considered himself to be, as the author of the question says, a sinner. Now, at the same time, the same man, Apostle Paul, said in 2 Timothy, at the end of his life, as he sat in that Roman dungeon, he said in 2 Timothy 4 and verse 7, he said, I have fought a good fight. Now, this is the man who said he was the chief of sinners. I fought a good fight. Right. I have finished the race. I've kept the faith. And then he said that there was a crown of righteousness that was going to be his, but it wasn't given because of his works. It was given by God, the Lord, the righteous judge. So he was, at the same time, sinner, but at the same time, righteous.
That's right. And I just want to go to Romans chapter 6 and verse 18, where it's just a continuation of what he's been saying. And he says, and having been set free from sin, you became slaves of righteousness. So he's saying Christ has set you free from sin because of his righteousness, but instead you're now trying to attain righteousness, right? And he's saying, no, that is not the whole point. We cannot attain it. It is a gift that is given to us from God.
Well, that's powerful. And again, I think another beautiful promise for us to cling here today. God indeed wants us to walk separate from the world and not be caught up in the sins of this world, but that's a gift from God himself. He's the one that declares us righteous. He's the one who can make us holy. And to surrender all over to him and to give our lives over to him every day is the way to do that. As Paul says, I die daily, right? So I appreciate what you all just shared there, because I think indeed that is the essence of what it means to walk with God in a holy state.